fantastic presenters, and they're also great storytellers. I have opportunities to interact with many of these speakers in the past. So without further ado, we're going to start. And Amanda, Micah, and Kristin, when it's your turn, feel free to share your slides. We'll start with Amanda, and also feel free to introduce yourself.
All right, everyone. How are you all doing? Hope you're doing well today, considering the weather and the respiratory illnesses going around. So I'm recovering, so I have a little bit of a rasp, but glad to be here today to speak with you on behalf of our Arkansas program. Give me just a second to get this going. All right. So I'm excited to be invited to talk with you all today. I was involved with this group early on when it was first started several years ago, and haven't been as plugged in recent years because I've been really busy since 2017 building our Arkansas program for local, regional, and safe foods. And I'll talk to you about some of the work, and some of my team members are also joining us today. They've played a really integral role in making sure that our programs are successful and have great impact within our state. So I'm Dr. Amanda Philyaw Perez. I'm an associate professor with the University of Arkansas System Division of Agriculture. I'm now a faculty member in the horticulture department. And I work with our state's fruit and vegetable industry, and have helped lead our state's program in produce safety and value-added food processing for the last couple of years. And so I wanted to share with you just an overview of some of the programs that we lead that I'll talk to you about today. First up is our state's produce safety program. So back in 2017, I was hired and brought on to help initiate the development of a statewide program to help our fruit and vegetable growers with our state produce safety program under the Food Safety Modernization Act. And I'll talk to you about what we've done in that time. We've also developed some add-on workshops. And then our biggest project in the last couple of years has been our Share Grounds, which is a food innovation project where we've worked with 3 rural communities to do food innovation and technical assistance. All of this work has happened since 2017, and through a lot of efforts with my team, we have developed a local foods page. So if you want to catch up on any of the things that we've developed or that I've talked about today, please follow our page, and the link is provided here. The first thing in getting the program off the ground for Arkansas was helping our fruit and vegetable industry understand what the FDA passed in 2011 with the Food Safety Modernization Act. It was, a sweeping regulation that impacted fruit and vegetable growers across the country. Most of the big impacts of that didn't come until about 2015, 16, and 17 when states were required to implement this federal regulation. And so a lot of us, including Kristin Woods, who's on here today, and others, were busy helping the fruit and vegetable industry understand this federal regulation. And while there, are several pillars within this regulation, my program is really focused on the produce safety section, which is helping farms understand growing, harvesting, packing, and holding produce in a way that prevents foodborne illness. And so since the time of initiation of that, we've helped farmers understand those practices and understand what was required to be put in place under those regulations that were established by those rules. And then we also help farms understand beyond just what was required under the Food Safety Modernization Act. We've learned that a lot of the small farms, especially those working in local and regional foods, may not necessarily fit under these regulatory guidelines, but the practices are important to their operation. And so we're working with farms all across the state to help them understand what they have to do if they're subject to the regulation, and if they're not subject to the regulation, understand what practices to put into place just to make sure that, what they're growing safely and distributing that to the community so that people have good, fresh food and also aren't exposed to foodborne illness. And so FSMA was one of the first ever mandatory federal standards for growing, harvesting, and packing produce. It set regulatory standards related to the things that you see here. So we have worked over the past several years to teach growers about worker health and hygiene, soil amendments such as composting and manure management. We've done workshops on how to deal with wildlife and domesticated animals, production and harvesting practices, post-harvest handling and sanitation, agricultural water, which is a big topic because FDA is still proposing part of this rule. And then while not required under the produce safety rule, helping farms understand how to develop a farm food safety plan. So under the Food Safety Modernization Act, there's been a requirement for growers to go through a standardized training program designed by Cornell University and then implemented all across the nation and now internationally. And so most of your states have probably worked to implement these, and you may or may not have been involved in some of that work if you've been working in local and regional food. But this has been a big priority across the country for the last several years. I think most states have done a good job of accessing the fruit and vegetable industry, working with small, and very small farms, which are typically those in the local and regional food space. And then especially working with those that are on the commercial scale and mostly selling wholesale that are definitely subject to the regulation. But it's given us an opportunity to connect with growers, understand what their needs are, and then help them solve some of those problems on their farm. And it's really what I call my golden ticket to getting to know the fruit and vegetable industry in Arkansas. So I've really enjoyed doing this work over the last couple of years. And so for our statewide program, we've actually held 31 trainings. We've attracted 412 participants, 312 people from farms. So Arkansas produce industry is not a huge industry. Part of developing a local and regional food systems program in our state has really been focused on, getting to know who these people are. And so we don't have thousands of growers. We have hundreds of growers in the state, but we've reached pretty much the bulk of the industry by having 325 people attend training. And then, of course, we trained the support organizations, the universities, nonprofits, Farm Bureau, agencies, support staff, all of those people as well. So within our state, I said we've held 31 trainings, but we do have training coming up in 2023 in March, May, and October. For those that are interstate, you're welcome to join us for these. We do have a remote training for those that want to participate in an online training if you're from another state. But if you have growers that are interested in getting produce safety training, the Produce Safety Alliance has a list of trainings that are available all over the country. You can, go to this website and send those resources out to your growers. In addition to our kind of signature program, which has been our produce safety program over the last couple of years, we did add-on workshops where we hosted several trainings with county agents, with our grower communities at conferences. We've done over 45 trainings that have covered a range of different topics, from how to deal with wildlife management, like deer fencing, pest control, assessing wildlife in fields, how to control those things. We've talked about wells and agricultural water, about types of water sources, how you use water on your farm. We've hosted a several-day composting and manure management workshop, which we've recorded, and we have videos available on our YouTube page. We've done hand washing. We've talked about packing sheds. We've taught our growers about water testing. We actually held an agent training where we walked our agents through how to do water sampling, how to send those in, and then how to support the industry related to that. We've also talked about cooling and things like that. We do have an upcoming training on produce safety washing that we're going to do at a conference that I'll share with you in just a minute. But for anybody working with the industry and you have growers that need support in any of these spaces, if you're not familiar with the National Produce Safety Clearinghouse, you can get resources for small farms, for the produce industry, for lots of practices by going to the National Food Safety Clearinghouse, which was established as part of the food safety program, but it's got a ton of resources for the work that we do in local and regional food systems work. Our biggest highlight coming up, and I'd really like to give credit to Rip Weaver, who's attending today. He's been played a really important role in Arkansas, hosting our first Arkansas Grown Conference. I know many folks in the South and across the country have done conferences like this, and you just shared a lot of those just a few moments ago. But Arkansas, this is our first one. We're really proud that this is happening. Our state ag department is the lead, and then of course all the support agencies in the state are going to be playing a really important role. We've got several full days of workshops covering lots of things with tours, wine tasting, a vendor trade show, lots of fun stuff happening later this month in Arkansas. So if you're in the region or in the state, please join us and check out what we have to offer at our first ever Arkansas Grown Conference. One of our most exciting projects that we've done in the last couple of years has been the Share Grounds Food Innovation Program. And I don't have time to go into the details of it, but we have worked to create 3 certified food manufacturing facilities at 3 rural county fairgrounds. We converted county concession kitchens into food manufacturing kitchens using a budget of less than $50,000 for construction. And then we were funded through the USDA LFPP program to create outreach, training, technical assistance, support through these kitchens. We have designed a program. We offer technical assistance. We help people who have food concepts, bring that concept in, turn that into a product, and then get ready for commercialization. So since we've created this project, we actually opened our kitchens in March of 2020. And then like a week later, we closed them due to the pandemic. While we had a lot of hiccups with this project due to the pandemic, we have had a lot of success, and we've really built a foundation for how we can help farms or food entrepreneurs develop food resources for developing food products. And we walk them through the process, the manufacturing permit, liability, all of those types of things. If you're interested in learning more about this program, please visit our Share Grounds page. During the life of this project, even though it was during the pandemic, we offered 356 client consultation services, totaling 760 hours of contact with this group of clientele. We've had 92 food entrepreneurs call us between 2021 and 2022, asking for help about creating a food product. We've actually worked with 35 clients to create test batches. We've had 15 clients come into our kitchen and make value-added products during this time. And so we're really excited about that. As you can see, mask people were doing all of this during the pandemic. And so, so the highlight of the project is we learned what was successful and what worked in this space. We did have some challenges with this work given the pandemic, but we also identified a major challenge in that many of these people need a ton of resources to really get going. And while value added is being pushed as a national initiative through all of the funding streams, we're starting to see that a lot of people want to do this on their own operations, and states are passing laws so that people can do more value added through home-based food businesses. Like Arkansas passed the Arkansas Food Freedom Act during this time as well. And so most of the products that we were helping clients with, they can now produce at home. So we've kind of shifted our business model for this project, and we're offering people this technical assistance, but we're also offering them an opportunity to do product testing for home-based food products as well, rather than just coming into a commercial kitchen to create value-added products. But happy to answer any questions about that. So for our overall program, since 2017, we've produced about 28 extension publications. We've written 65 newsletters. We have 36 educational videos on our YouTube page. We've had 14 demonstration field days or tours. We've hosted 106 extension trainings, reaching over 3,500 clientele over the last few years. We've conducted 159 farm visits, had 314 client consultations across all of our program areas, and have had over 100,000 visits to our webpage. And so please visit our webpage so that those numbers can continue to grow. But if you have any questions about any of the things that you see on our program, just please let me know. We would be happy to to answer any questions about what we've done in Arkansas and where we're going next. I will share that we are part of a multi-state initiative, and we've applied for the USDA Regional Food Business Center grant through the University of Arkansas in partnership with Mississippi, Louisiana, Tennessee, and Missouri. And so if funded, I hope to report back to you on the work that we'll be doing in that space as well. So thank you for the opportunity to share with you today. And then sign up for our newsletter. And if you have any questions about any of the topics that I've covered today, I'd be happy to answer those for you. And thanks again to my team that's played such an important role in making these programs a success. I mentioned Gabby has helped lead our produce safety program. Rip has played a key role in that, and he has helped to support our program for the Arkansas Grown Conference as well. So I think that's my time. So please reach out if you have any questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Amanda, so much for the information. For the next speaker, Micah, if you could get ready for your slides. If any of you have any question for Amanda, would you please just put them in the chat box? We will go to the Q&A after all the presenters finish their information. Thank you.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to present today. I represent some work being done around the produce safety rule in Michigan. My name is Micah Hutchison. I am one of 6 produce safety technicians located in Michigan. And as a produce safety technician, I work directly with Michigan's produce growers, providing on-farm technical assistance on the implementation of the FSMA produce safety rule. So as Amanda covered in previous slides, FSMA, or the Food Safety Modernization Act, is the federal regulation and the largest reform of the food system in 70 years. Signed into law in 2011, FSMA is focused on that prevention of food safety issues. It consists of 7 rules and encompasses the entire food system. As a produce safety technician, what we focus on is the produce safety rule and the standard set by the produce safety rule. So as this first mandatory federal standard for growing, packing, and holding a fresh, harvesting and holding of fresh produce is coming into regulation, we work with growers who are facing kind of the first time in their career federal mandate and regulation and inspection. We work with growers to kind of understand this law and understand where they fall in the law. There are some exemptions for growers based on the commodities grown, processing activities, their average annual sales, and their qualified end users. And as technicians, we kind of really are the people who connect with growers on their farm, in the community, to kind of understand where they fall in the rule and how, if they are qualified for some of these exemptions. Our program is comprehensive and it's open to all growers, while some growers are not covered under the rule and are not facing kind of those regulatory inspections. All growers should understand and take action to reduce food safety on the farm, and our voluntary confidential programs are open to all Michigan growers. So Michigan's response to the regulation was kind of this creation of a Michigan on-farm produce safety team. This team is made up of the Michigan Department of Ag and Rural Development, so those MDARD inspectors, as well as Michigan State University Extension educators and us produce safety technicians. So together we come as a team to work to prepare our Michigan growers for compliance with the FSMA produce safety rule. As you can see in the umbrella, MSU Extension educators and conservation district technicians overlap and collaborate on some of the services provided. All services provided, again, are voluntary, free, and confidential. This slide goes into a little greater detail on how we as produce safety technicians collaborate with our colleagues from MSU Extension. We work together to deliver the 8-hour Cornell PSA grower training that meets the FDA requirement. It's that comprehensive education that covers all topics listed under the produce safety rule. So water, employee health and hygiene, soil amendments, post-harvest activities, and how to build an on-farm food safety plan. We also partner with Michigan State University Extension on-farm readiness reviews. So these pre-inspection reviews of on-farm practices, we visit a farm, we observe what they do on the farm, and then give our recommendations to the grower. Those on-farm readiness reviews, like all of our programs, are confidential, they're voluntary, and they're free. As produce safety technician, we are kind of here to support growers on the implementation of what to do after all of the education they've received, how to get the feedback, what they've learned, and put what they've learned into practice. As you can see in the state of Michigan, there are 6 technicians and we cover the entire state. So we have very large regions and we travel to work with our growers. We are all conservation district employees. Most of us are co-located with our NRCS, USDA NRCS colleagues. So we have that connection to bring additional tools and resources to our growers. We connect them to education programs, be it with MSU Extension, local nonprofits, or other organizations. We offer a produce safety risk assessment, which I will cover in the next slide. And we do a lot of community outreach. So we've spent the past couple years really trying to connect with our local growers to let them know all of the services that are available to them as they transition into being regulated for the first time. One of our big programs as produce safety technicians is this produce safety risk assessment. So this is a tool and a booklet that kind of works with growers to assess their on-farm practices. A technician shows up on farm through multiple visits and through observing practices, talking to the growers, and asking questions, we help to connect the grower from the education to start identifying risks on the farm. We work together to create an action plan so the grower knows what steps they can do, what solutions they can come up with to kind of meet the standards set by the produce safety rule. We focus on risk reduction in those key areas like soil amendments, employee health and hygiene, post-harvest practices, and water. The produce safety risk assessment is free, it's confidential, it's voluntary. All information stays with the technician or on the farm. For growers who are interested in completing this produce safety risk assessment, there is a certificate available. This certificate, issued by the Michigan Department of Ag and Rural Development, is a tool for growers to know that they are doing the right things, providing safe produce to their buyers. And it also is a way that they can communicate to their buyers that they're dedicated to safe produce. They're dedicated to following these practices on farm. And their farm is really invested in creating not just these steps to create safe food, but a food safety culture. Anyone that completes this produce safety risk assessment certification now can use our logo. This partner farm, participating farm logo through the Michigan On-Farm Produce Safety Program is available to all certified farms. It's free. You can use it through the 3 years that the certificate is valid. And it's really starting to be identified as a marketing tool for farmers to use both like at market stands, at the farm, have that visual signal that their farm is committed to providing safe produce. In addition to the produce safety risk assessment, we do a lot of on-farm risk reduction technical assistance. As technicians, we are here for assistance and design advice available to growers, and that could be water testing. If that's how to take water samples on your farm, taking those water samples to the labs for growers, also helping growers who work in, say, like a bigger municipality that does their own water testing, getting them access to those records. We do a lot of training, both for farms, for individual volunteer groups on some of our like more community garden farms. We help growers develop their on-farm food safety plans based on the risk assessment. We help them develop worker hygiene practices and policies. We help kind of get them to understand what the requirements are around toilets and hand washing. We give assistance and guidance on soil amendments, manure and compost use. We help them like resource and get those records from maybe composting companies they're using. We help them with record keeping, both document creation, accessing templates, and keeping those records. We help with wildlife, traceability, and then post-harvest practices. With that, that is kind of a brief overview of how conservation district technicians work directly with growers on farm to kind of get the education and understand their needs as we transition into these inspections. And with that, does anyone have any questions?
Thank you so much, Micah. And I definitely love this owl.
Thanks.
But I saw people have been typing questions into the chat box for presenters, and let's keep doing it. And then I understand that Ms. Tiffany will help Kristin to pull out her presentation file. So Tiffany, if you're ready, please feel free to share the screen, and then Kristin will start.
Great, thank you, Kathleen. I'll go ahead and introduce myself while she gets that into the slideshow mode. Yes, thank you. My name is Kristin Woods, and I am a brand new extension specialist with Tuskegee University. I started last week, but prior to that, I was working with Alabama Extension as the project lead for the project I get to talk about today, which is experiential learning opportunities for limited resource growers through mobile farm innovation in Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. It was a very natural transition for me to go to Tuskegee University because of the experiential learning nature of this project. Tuskegee University has a very long strong legacy of doing that hands-on type training in communities. So it was a really excellent fit, and Tuskegee University has been a partner in this project since its inception as well. So I want to go ahead and acknowledge our funder, which was USDA NEFA, the Food Safety Outreach Program. So I always want to thank them for making this possible. Next slide. And then next slide. Yeah, there might be a little delay, so I'll just keep talking after I say next slide. I want to acknowledge our Farm Innovation Project team. It's been working on this for the last several years. Of course, we started out with our project directors and our advisory board. But our key partners have grown and grown over the course of this project. And I realized after I sent this slide back to Katie that I left one off. One of our new partners is Mississippi State University, and Jack Brewer will actually be receiving one of our experiential learning units very shortly. So I want to add him to the list too. Next slide. So what we did for the project, we designed and constructed 5 mobile farm innovation trailers to meet the learning needs of limited resource growers with small acreage. We developed a multimodal and modular training program that balances food safety and conservation needs. So what I mean by that, I'll just give you an example. We have an activity that's around vegetative buffers. So we talk about all the ecological benefits of vegetative buffers, providing habitat for pollinators, attracting beneficial species of birds that can provide ecosystem services to farms. And then we also talk about protecting water quality that might be used for human consumption or that might be used to irrigate produce. So we really talk about it in a holistic way. And then we conducted outreach in Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia, and we evaluated the project. So today's actually the first time that I'll get to present some of our evaluation results. Next slide. All right, so our advisory group, which was on the previous slide, was really at the center of this project. They were involved from the planning stages of it. They helped us with designing the graphics for the trailers and determining the activities that should be in those trailers. They determined all of the key concepts that the farmers in the region really wanted to learn about. They were involved in hosting and facilitating both at our pilot event in Okolona, Mississippi, and our subsequent events throughout the project. And then they also hosted and participated in a couple of focus groups that I'll talk about at the end of my time today. Next slide. So this slide is actually a picture of one of the units in operation. The inside of the unit is a storage. It's cabinets and bungee cords and things to hold supplies down. But the outside depicts some of the topics that we talk about in our hands-on training. That was a COVID pivot that we made. We originally were going to have a trailer that people walked into and did things. But we couldn't have people in an enclosed space. So our advisory board was really helpful in helping us figure out how to spread things out. So we have folks usually spread out across, usually in the inside and outside large area, doing these different activities in kind of a modular way. We don't do all the activities at the same time or even with the same groups. We really pick and choose what's appropriate for the group. So this one is our technology station. You can see the big screen TV and the small group size. The small group size is really important because they'll actually pull up their own property on their phones and start to make a farm map while they're doing this particular activity. We also have a generator inside the trailer so we can take these units into remote areas and do activities there too. So next slide. All right, so here's just a couple more. The next couple of slides are a couple more of the activities. This is our hand washing station building activities. So you can see it's very hands-on. They actually build a hand washing unit in their small group. And the design that we're using was originated by Tuskegee University. Dr. Sana and Danielle Smith designed that touch-free faucet there that's pictured on the right. And the stand comes from University of Minnesota design. It's just a very simple stand. Next slide. And here we have pictured Dr. Elizabeth Miles with Alcorn State University. She's facilitating our cleaning activity, looking at sanitary design of cleaning tools and what's appropriate for use in a farm setting. And I wanted to just kind of show how some of the activity supplies really pack up nicely. These particular supplies fit in 5-gallon buckets, and then they're easily stored in the trailer, can move from place to place. Next slide. So here's a couple more of the activities. We have an activity on aseptic water sampling, one on actually hooking up the wires for a CoolBot storage unit to the air conditioning unit, and then another one on using the pesticide product labeling system to figure out how to safely and properly use antimicrobial sanitizers. Next slide. So we've developed 15 fact sheets and facilitator guides for this project. The fact sheets, of course, are meant for the participants to take home with them, and they cover the key topics from the activities. The facilitator guides are meant for educators to be able to repeat these activities. So in those, you'll find a supply list and some talking points for talking through the activities and actually doing that with participants. And I think if you click again, they'll give you a clearinghouse logo. So next slide. Yep. So Amanda mentioned the National Food Safety Clearinghouse. So we have all of our materials also posted there. It's a real wealth of information to find things. So next slide. And we've also developed some short videos. These are 3-minute videos on vegetative buffers, rotational grazing, irrigation, and biodiversity. And all of the videos touch upon the conservation/ecological benefits of practices, as well as how they can align with food safety. And these we use typically when we're not able to do hands-on activities with folks. So for example, we had it at the Sunbelt Ag Expo a couple years ago, where people were just walking by and they could watch the videos as they walk by. So, next slide. And click again. All right, so To get into some of our evaluation results, we used a pre-post survey designed to assess attitudes or awareness around food safety practices, their confidence in implementing the practices that we were showing them in the activities, and then their plans to actually implement the practices. So what you're looking at here is the post-survey results, the Likert scale data. And on the right-hand side, you'll see those stars. The stars indicate statistically significant differences between the pre-test and the post-test Likert data at a 95% confidence level. So what's notable about this is that we don't see a change in cleaning or hand washing, which is great because actually they already knew and agreed with us that cleaning and hand washing was really important to food safety. So, next slide. So this one depicts the post-survey data from the confidence. So we asked them if they were confident that they could clean and sanitize their food contact surfaces, or they were confident that they could implement a buffer on their farm, etc. And again, the stars indicate a significance at a 95% confidence level. The outline star is significance at a 90% confidence level. So we're seeing a really good confidence in implementing these practices. We are really pretty happy to see that. So, next slide. When we asked them about whether or not they actually planned to implement these things on their farm, we got a little bit more mixed results, right? We do have some folks that are planning to implement some practices on their farm after going through the activities, but we have a good number of folks that just weren't swayed, right? So maybe they just didn't have enough time to think about it and be swayed. But we think there might be some other factors going on there too. For example, with the Colbot and even the hand washing station build, the cost associated with doing that could be a barrier to them actually planning to do that, because we're dealing with very small and limited resource farmers. So, next slide. All right, so a couple months after the activities, we came back to a couple of groups. We did 2 focus groups and asked them about the impact of the training on their farms, whether they'd implemented some practices, and kind of get an idea of what their current needs were around that. So they told us that they would benefit from more teamwork and more coordination in their farming communities. They wanted shared equipment that they could use, and also information sharing, both electronic and face-to-face, which in our Selma group really evolved into a conversation about internet service, cell service, and computer literacy. And we found out that about half of the focus group attendees actually use the internet, and that's how they wanted their information. But the other half of the focus group attendees, they don't use the internet. So they really rely on that one-on-one contact, that face-to-face communication. So that's something that we just really have to keep in mind, that we have to track in both avenues when we're reaching this group of growers. They also told us that they need that financial help from USDA. USDA has a lot of it and a growing amount of it, which is wonderful, but they need technical assistance to access that USDA help. There are a large number of them that are still not comfortable, not confident in their own ability to go into an NRCS office or FSA office and get that help themselves. And they want that technical assistance to access that, the USDA resources. There's a specific need for fencing wildlife out of growing areas, especially wild hogs. This came out in both groups very strongly. The good thing is that USDA has a program around this, so we can help link them up with those funds too. All right, next slide. So our key takeaways are the hands-on activities are effective at improving awareness, confidence, and intent to implement key components of practices. But even when they recognize the benefit of a practice, their intent to actually implement might be influenced by other factors such as cost. And we look forward to doing another focus group or two to collect some qualitative data to help elucidate the barriers to implementation. So next slide. I'll just thank you for your time and listening today. I have our project website up on the screen, aces.edu/farm_innovation, or you can send me an email if you want to know more. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thanks for Tiffany for your help with the slides. Now let's go to the Q&A. And for each presenter, feel free to look at the chat box for a variety of questions for each person to respond. So I'm not going to read all the questions, but we'll start with Amanda. You saw some questions asking you about the cost to participate and some of the regulatory issues. Would you like to address those questions, Amanda?
Yeah, certainly. For sake of time, we didn't get to dig into the details of our Share Grounds program. We do have a fee structure. As part of the program, when we initially designed it, we set out to offer, in the first year, we offered the services free of charge to try to recruit people, get people involved. And then after that, we were developing our sustainability program. So we started charging $200, which we increased to $250 to offer about 10 hours of client consultation, where people would come to us, learn the basics of how to get a food business off the ground, and then recipe development, permitting, how to get access to the kitchen, all of those things. And that's kind of the sweet spot. People need about 10 hours of deep dive consultation to just get into it. And then we charged $25 an hour for time at the kitchen, whether that was doing a test batch beyond your 10 hours or actually renting the kitchen. Now, the sustainability of that, so we used rural county fair facilities, which are underutilized. They sit there, you know, they have kitchens. So we were easily, very inexpensively able to convert those sites to food manufacturing kitchens. The struggle we had was because they were in rural communities, hiring staff to be there regularly to support it. So the biggest takeaway for us in that is people really need the deep dive 10 hours of consultation. Our next steps are going to be to offer training and technical assistance. We're going to work on building out a course that helps people get through that first phase. And then when they need kitchen time, these facilities have the potential to be a model, but we're still working out some of the kinks for the sustainability, because it's really hard to hire staffing and then to make the numbers work on having a facility available. I still think that the Share Grounds can. Of the 3 kitchens, we only have 1 in operation now, but we're starting to get to a place where we have regular clients contacting us, and we've actually got 3 or 4 clients that are going to be working with us over the next month to see this through. And so we're still testing out the model, and I will be writing about what's worked and what hasn't. And then with the fee structure, beyond that, we have other fee for services for, product testing and things like that. That's available on our Share Grounds page. If you Google Arkansas Share Grounds, you can get that information.
Thank you so much. And maybe in the future, we can get Amanda to come back later this year and to share an update. I think that would be great.
Thank you.
Micah, you see any questions you would like to respond to?
I don't think I saw any questions directed.
If you guys have any questions for Micah, last call to put them in the chat box for her. Now let's move on to Kristin. Kristin, go ahead, respond to your questions, please.
Yeah, I see a question around sustainability of the program and gas in particular. So right now, the travel costs are paid for with the Food Safety Outreach Program funds. We have a mixture of community partners and university partners that have these 5 trailers. And I foresee it continuing to be a grant funded program, but it will evolve. So one of our partners, actually Tuskegee University, a colleague of mine, has an idea around doing some solar education using those units. I think that's a good fit because we can tie that into conservation very easily. So we'll probably evolve into different sources of grant funds. It may not be food safety. It may be food safety at times. And then for our university partners, we do have, core funds. We're reimbursed by mileage, though. It doesn't matter if we're pulling a trailer or not. We're reimbursed a specific mileage rate. So we will continue to do that. We don't have the gas card issue, though, as mentioned in the question.
Thank you so much. And for those of you still here with us, I want to say thank you. But before you all leave, now since we're funded by USDA NIFA, it will be fantastic for all of you to give us some feedback in a minute or so. Just type your reactions to the chat box. Would you like to have other type of topics that we could offer in the future open forum? And how your reaction to today's open forum and all the presenters. So just a simple sentence in the chat box. I love it. I hate it. Don't ever do it again. However you want to respond, we would really appreciate it because you all saw how Amanda, she did a fantastic job with all those indicators, the reporting data back to the funder. And I need to do the same thing. So with the support of all of you, give us some feedback, give me some ideas. What other topics you like to hear in our open forum? We do open forum quarterly. Next one will be in April. What's even better, if any of you listening here, you want to be the presenter next time, that will be absolutely fantastic. So with that said, we will keep the Zoom open for another few minutes. Our end time is 1 p.m. This is an excellent session. I appreciate all the presenters abide to your time. And then if you want to open your mic to say a few words, and this is the time to do that too. I see Brian Raisin, who has been with the extension for a long, long time. Brian, would you like to say a few words, introduce yourself when people are doing the feedback, suggestions, and those kind of things?
It's so good to see everybody. I'm so glad that this group is continuing and that there's a great support for sharing information. We started this 10 or 15 years ago. I don't know, it's been a long time. And I've had great support, and with Kathleen's leadership to take over, we're so appreciative. Great presentations today. I know that NIFA and USDA love when multi-states come together, people from different disciplines, that we reach not just the academics, but the farmers, the researchers, to do this work. And so I'm very happy to help support it and contribute wherever that I can moving forward. Great stuff. Thanks, everybody. It's good to see everybody.
Thanks. If you all see Carl's comment, Carl was asking about a roadmap. That sounds like a very interesting topic. We should really follow up with that one, because no matter how we present what we all do in different communities in different states, there are always roadblocks in different scenarios, whether it's a funding problems, whether it's a legality issues, all these environmental compliance in different areas. So if you all want to follow up with each other, share your email contact information in the chat box. We have 3 outstanding people here as a resource, but we also have all of you here. If you're doing something you like to follow up, just leave your contact information in here, and then we can follow up with you to offer more information in the future. Well, anybody would like to do a closing or something?
I'll just say thank you guys for organizing this. I really appreciate the opportunity to interface with everybody else and learn new things. And then also I love talking about our farm innovation project. So.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation. Thank you for giving us a platform to share what we're doing and hear all the great work that everyone else is doing. And thank you to Kristin, because she shared her farm innovation program and we wrote it in a recent grant application. So hopefully everyone else can share the resources with other states as well for your next opportunities.
Sure. Thanks so much, Dr. Liang, and keep doing what you do. Much appreciated.
Well, now, by the way, I don't get paid extra to do this stuff. This is just my additional volunteer
Absolutely.
service
Absolutely.
to give back to NIFA, because USDA has supported me and my colleagues for almost over 30 years, to fund all kinds of interesting stuff. So when Brian and the other folks in extension contacted me, if I would like to step up, help out a little bit, I said, oh, sure. It turns out to be a lifetime commitment here.
Yeah.
Y'all folks, if you're interested in doing what I do, let me know right away, because once I retire, somebody else has to continue this. All right, the legacy has to move on for all the land grant mission, and I think everybody's doing such a fantastic job. So the clock is hitting 1 p.m. I'm not gonna hold anybody longer. If you're still typing the information, we'll keep it open for another 1-2 minutes, but for the rest of you, enjoy the rest of your day. I look forward to seeing you in future programs. Thank you so much. Thanks to all the presenters. I appreciate it. Thanks, Tiffany, too. Have a great day. Bye.